And we are live. Pardon our lateness.
In 2018, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison by an algorithm for the crime they didn't commit. These producers promptly escaped from maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground. Today, still wanted by social media, they survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Smash team.
All right, looking at the sun and 171 angstroms. That is just today. So that's the last 9 hours and 15 minutes or so. Zooming in on Sunspot 2735. Latest addition to cycle 24 sunspots. It's beta class. The leading core umbra has actually just increased in size in the past few hours. So let's look at it a little more in depth. Here's a 304 angstroms view. All right, we got a late start today. I apologize for that. That's, I guess, as much my fault as it is Google's. I don't usually schedule them in advance, although I should schedule them in advance. Here's the 193 angstroms view. Now that's from 0 hour this morning until 9:15 UT. So if you want to view the X-ray flares that happened, there were 3 X-ray flares yesterday afternoon. You'll need to go back about 12 hours. We're not really worried about that. We're only worried about the evolution of the sunspot because those B-class flares didn't do very much at all. Let's look at 94 angstroms also while we have this already. New viewers, 94 angstroms takes 5 times as many images as those other views we just looked at. That's going to show you a little more information there. Let's do the way zoom. Zoom in all the way in. So throughout this period right here, the leading umbral core actually did gain a little bit of size. Let me get Epic Pen out. I forgot to open Epic Pen. Keyboard shortcuts are your friend, by the way, folks. Highly recommend them. Epic Pen always takes a minute to load because it's a screen draw over program. So I think the best thing to draw over would be this right here. Let's draw over this. Oh no. Is Google still showing up? I can't see it on my screen. Anyway. Get out Epic Pen for future use. Now, the trailing cores here, which are the ones that are negative charges, North Pole associated with umbra, have actually shrunk and kind of vanished a bit. We'll show you the progression here using the colored magnetogram. Actually, the last frame there, I'm not so sure those are weakening. So let's zoom way in on that. So there's what's going on. A little bit of negative charge crackling out of the front of that leading umbra there. Let's look at the real-time solar wind, in which we do see a density spike, if we see anything at all, which we don't. Allow me to play up another track here. How about this one? Just kidding. We're not going to use that one, folks. Don't ban us, YouTube. Don't ban us. We promise we'll be good. And that is the wrong track also. That's what I get for using a scratch disc when I'm doing live streams. How about Professor Krookenstein? That's a new one. I don't think we played that one yet. This is Lost Luggage, actually. Ignore those foreign language people talking in the background. I have no idea what they're saying. Something very angry. The song's literally about losing your luggage. All right. So we see a bit of phi angle shift happening there. We're not going to see a coronal hole magnetic connection, and the sunspot should be reducing earthquake risk a little bit while it is affecting the Earth-facing magnetism. If we do see a phi angle suddenly hit 180, then that would be a huge earthquake risk because it would represent a huge flux between straight sun to earth magnetic connection and the sun holding back its fields. So we see a big spike in the solar wind density, which leads us to believe that the incoming coronal hole wind stream from the coronal hole that is now setting on the west is going to be a big one. Now we see the density has just dropped off in the last couple hours there, indicating the speed is about to rise. So that's a coronal hole wind stream, and we're going to see the standard issue dip in the electron flux. See the BT-BZ up there on the top pane? The BT is very high. That's the total B field. And the Z is dropping. So that's probably going to stick around the center there because the magnetic environment hasn't changed that much. Keep in mind that sunspot came out of a massive plage. And I was just saying yesterday to my girlfriend that a sunspot could suddenly erupt out of that plage. And then later that afternoon, a sunspot erupted out of that plage. So let's look at the Gong 2 here to see what the magnetic environment's doing. As we say daily, this can change with zero notice. And that's what we see happening. Sunspots form and they don't inform you. Okay, so this crossing of the current sheet is looking like it's going to be pretty much a non-event because that sunspot is going to kind of smooth things out for the Earth's crossing of the current sheet here, in my opinion. I mean, you gotta wait to see what happens because again, even this data is an hour and 28 minutes old, and when you start predicting magnetism, you start being wrong, and I'd rather not. Look at spaceweather.com. Some nice auroras here in Sweden. Björkliden. I wish I would have been in Björkliden that night. I would have gladly taken the radiation exposure. All right. Solar flux has come back up to 70. Not a surprise considering we have an actual sunspot. So welcome to Sunspot 2735. Let's look at space weather news. A convenient spot to compile a bunch of data. I just better make sure it's refreshed. Keyboard shortcuts are your friends, folks. Promise you. Learn keyboard shortcuts. Your life will get easier. All right, so there's those 3 little B-class X-ray flares yesterday. They're all just B1 X-ray flares. I got to get rid of those tooltips. I don't know how to get rid of those. The tooltips are slowing the feed down. All right. Excuse me. There. So we see wow, look at that. The KP index has been flatlined at 1 for over a day. How about it? Now the GOES magnetometer is looking pretty smooth. No surprises there. Electron flux is going to dip. We're expecting another dip like this, which is typically associated with those coronal hole wind stream type events. F2 layer looking highly discharged over North America and slightly above normal discharge levels over South America. The rest of it looking pretty normal. There's your aurora forecasts. Those are going to get beefed up today. We're going to see some more auroras coming through, especially if we get a big solar wind speed, and I would expect us to be getting one. Unless that sudden spike in the solar wind density was just from a piece of plasma or something, I guess that could be. But we would expect the speed to rise. So when that happens, then there'll be a sustained pulse. I would expect it to be about, I don't know, 18 hours long. I was looking at the Enlil earlier, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So let's look at cosmic rays as we haven't for a few days. I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, there we go. This is a good site regardless. Let's look at Apatity, which is located in the Greenland, Iceland region there. See some wild fluctuations here in the last couple of days, which is what you'd kind of expect if you understand the physics. All right, so same deal there. Let's look at Athens. We're going to check and see if Moscow updated their neutron monitor, because that's been down for, I think, about a week now, 2 weeks, quite a while. It's almost off the graph. All right, so we see a couple little undulations there. There was a big spike at Athens on the 7th. Well, just before the 7th, around midnight, late on the 6th. And here's Mexico City, which usually sends us good data, and we see similar wild spikes to Athens. We like to see corroborative data there, indicating that they're probably doing the real science. Moscow, oh, ouch. Moscow hasn't showed data since the 22nd of February. Come on, Moscow. I would appeal to Vladimir Putin, but I'd rather him not know I exist. All right, so the Oulu monitor, similar spikes to Athens. So that looks legit. By the way, we're not seeing as high levels as we were in 2009 and 10, which is good news, probably. And DOMC, looks like they're only sending daily data now. And same with DOMB. Okay. Fine with me. Fine with me, folks. Now let's check out the space weather. Oh, that's not the right thing. Let's check out cycling shoes. Just kidding. All right, here's the space weather enthusiast dashboard. I highly recommend you put this in your favorites. It compresses data quite a bit. It does put it in a bunch of formats that you may not be familiar with, but your best bet is to be familiar with all of them, right? All right, now I'm going to show you a good image here of the progression of Sunspot 2735. you will see the trailing ombre will break down. And the leading umbra does appear to be getting larger. Actually, it looks like it's weakening at the end of that video. So in light of data that's less than an hour old, because keep in mind, when I do show prep, I do it seconds before I do the show, because if I don't, I'll be telling you stuff that ain't true anymore. Typically, you're going to find suspicious observers agrees with us. And I don't watch their videos, and I don't think they watch ours, because we would screw each other up. I mean, I watch his videos after I've already made mine. And occasionally we do disagree, which is a good thing. It causes us to do additional science. All right, let's look at some other stuff here. Actually, let's stay on the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard page for a second. Again, we did see the 10.7 centimeter radial flux went back up to 70. Not really a surprise there, and a good sign. Now here's the Enlil forecast. As I've been saying for the last couple of days, I don't know what the hell this is talking about. This doesn't look legit at all. See if I can get it sized correctly for you. All right. So that big spike in the plasma density, we certainly didn't see that predicted. And they're not predicting a velocity increase either. So they've got something way off on this. And my best guess is that it's this angle is going to be more like this angle. And a couple degrees make all the difference, especially when you got a bunch of magnetic plasma getting affected by the interplanetary magnetic field. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. And the more you learn about it, the weirder it seems. Doesn't ever seem to get less weird, only more weird. So that seems like a fairly reasonable idea as to what's going on. If anybody else has any alternate theories, please leave them in the comments. Or if you're not watching us live, leave them in the other comments. I don't know why there's two sets of comments, but that's just Google for you. They overcomplicate everything to the point where controls are hidden in a Malthusian maze. Let not thy soul be cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of Google software and dog turds. Google software and other dog turds. Here's your total electron content. Expect some minor GPS errors over the US today, especially in places like Florida and Texas. They won't be bad. They'll be up to about 6 meters. Australia, especially the north, you're getting GPS errors. And everybody on the equator, do you folks even use GPSs except at nighttime? Because I could not imagine you'd be off by 15 meters or something like that. Let's look at magnetosphere movies. All right, what am I doing? Can I multitask? I can change clothes while riding a bicycle. Does that count? Pardon my dry sense of humor. I have a certain style that I cannot abandon. It would be wrong. All right, there's your magnetosphere movies. Here's the velocity. Exactly what you would expect. By the way, the density is going to be extra blue because of that high solar wind density. There's going to be less white on your screen, folks, and there it is. So the plasma spheres are going to be a bit dense today. And maybe we won't get as big of an electron flux dip as we were expecting. But if that velocity that solar wind velocity comes up as we would anticipate it to do, we should get some serious dips in the electron flux. So those of you who don't understand what that means, the solar wind is mostly comprised of protons, solar protons, hydrogen nuclei, whatever you'd like to call them, little particles with mass traveling at nearly 1,000,000 miles an hour that really want an electron. So when a stream of those hits the Van Allen belt like a garden hose at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you can expect what would happen. They all get their electrons, and then a massive ionization path is created, which eventually, a great distance later, you see as an aurora. Now, some of those are so energetic that they make it all the way into the plasmasphere. And we're not going to get into layers, but there are a lot of layers. So I guess let's go over it for a moment here. These little spots here are the Earth's plasmaspheres. That was in the wrong place. See that little spot right there? That's the plasmasphere. That's the other plasmasphere. Those little blue areas. And the ionosphere is inside of those. Okay? That is the area where the solar plasma really interacts with the ionosphere. The current goes like this. That's how the Birkeland currents operate. Solar wind comes in like this. It splits into field-aligned currents like this. And that's the way that works. So the way this charges up the atmosphere is through a slow process. It doesn't happen immediately. If it happens immediately, you're having a bad day. All right, let's move on to geospace magnetosphere movies, as we typically do around this time. By the way, this video might be a little bit longer because we have some weather stuff, especially US and Europe weather, possibly to get to by the end. Please bear with us. We're keeping it fully content dense, as dense as we can get it. Maybe not as dense as my brain, but so what we're expecting is to not see a lot of ground perturbations here. And that's pretty much what we're seeing. We love it when the data backs up the other data and the theories back up the hypotheses. So to our viewers, regarding how stuff works, thanks for having a clue. Before we get on to earthquakes, let's open up the chat here in case there's anybody viewing, because you never know. By the way, this track is called Journey to the Center of the Hearse. One of those ironic songs. No, I don't know why I made it sound so happy. I have no idea, if anybody's asking. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Looks like we got quite a few viewers. Good morning, Mary, Keith, Eden, and Ernest. Pardon my first name basis, but we're keeping this thing compressed for time. All right, so here's the last 24 of earthquakes of 4+ magnitude. We're looking at Papua New Guinea. Let's take that opportunity to draw the warning area. Now, the watch is a little bit released right now because of the sunspot. That changes the magnetic environment. However, this stuff changes without any notice. So if you're in those areas, have an earthquake plan, because your 6 and 7 earthquake magnitude drought will end eventually. All right. Now, we're going to ignore anything below a 4. we see a 5.2. And that one looks like it's very close to the North Island. If we have any New Zealand viewers, please let us know if you felt that one. That's right at the surface. That's a serious quake. I doubt there'd be a tsunami associated with it. But let's look at tsunami.gov anyway. What is going on with this? Not updated since 3/13. All right. Moving on. Back to the U.S. downgrade service. Hey, thanks, guys. Tsunami.gov, not updated since the 13th. That's your taxpayer dollars at work. Boy, the government's sure good at using your money, isn't it? 4.9, right in the exact same place. Look at that, overlapping the other circle. Here's a 5.0. Also in the same place. Check it out. Hotspot, anybody? All right, what do we have there? 4.6 in Burma. Looks like somebody made a good move getting out of there. Pardon my clicking. I should be scrolling. All right, here's one at Chile. Right in the watch zone. Another one. 5.1. Very far south in between Africa and Antarctica on near Bouvet Island. And when I say near, I mean 297 kilometers away. Here's one of Kamchatsky. We do see a massive uptick in activity in that entire region, as well as the Aleutians, as well as Alaska. Here's one in Taiwan. Let us know if you felt that one, Mr. Devine. Here's one in Vanuatu. A little bit northwest of New Zealand there. In the Philippines. And let's look at volcanoes. And let's play more music. By the way, this one is available at soundclick.com/GoldenCat-Productions. Yeah, I make tracks about science, people, for real. I'm not kidding. Let's refresh that. Something doesn't look right. Bromo. Looks like they changed their format here. Come on, dudes. All right. So look at this amazing photo of Shivaluch's lava dome. Fantastic photo. Lava avalanche in the daytime. We'll just zoom in. By the way, if you want to zoom in that way, just hold down the control key and scroll up. Keyboard shortcuts, baby. Keyboard shortcuts. Check that out. What an image. Wow. Well done, whoever took that photo. Tom Pfeiffer. Yes, you are the dude. Shivaluch. By the way, that's not an easy place to get to, people. He was there on March 17th, 2019. So just a couple days ago, this dude was there on Kamchatka. Not exactly an accessible location. All right, so here's Abiko producing a 14,000-foot plume. Sakurajima, 5,000-foot plume. Manam. Don't fly over Manam with your ultralight recreational helicopter because it's producing a 15,000-foot ash plume. Here's Ibu, 7,000-foot plume there. Bromo, explosive activity continues. Dakono, 7,000-foot plume there. 15,000-foot plume at Karinchi. Popocatépetl exploded yesterday in a fashion so extreme that I'm going to have to show you some video of it because it's just amazing. Also, Fuego, Reventador, Sabancaya with a 24,000-foot ash plume there. And I would remind you that just a couple days ago, we had at least 24 hours of Bezimiani producing a 50,000-foot stratospheric volcanic ash plume. That's the real deal. There are some stratospheric aerosols up there for sure. All right, let me just locate this video here, because I got a couple other things to show you today in addition to that. All right, let's see if I can just find it this way. All right, found it right away. Nice. And we didn't use Google search, so for that, Google, we thank you. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe to this channel, Volcano YT. Look at the amazing images. They got these different angles here. Nighttime view. Showing the profile of the mountain there. Just fantastic. All right, now don't ban us, YouTube. I'm just going to show a minute of this. Check it out. Popocatépetl, take it away. Don't take mankind away, though. Whiting out the entire screen. We don't get to see if a lightning bolt came out of it because we're zoomed too far in. Check out the explosion of that thing. Hi, I wasn't standing next to it, and I sure hope you weren't. All right, Ernest, I see a question. Does the sun create the Earth's magnetosphere? Well, that's a good question. Does the sun create the sun's magnetosphere? If the sun is externally powered, as people like Rolf Vichet believe, the sun can't possibly create its own magnetosphere. In other words, are the magnetospheres only there because of the current flow? See what I'm saying? To get the Hall effect that we see on Earth, that does things like create all of Earth's weather, there's no way we can prove how the magnetosphere is made. All we know is that to get the Hall effect, all you've got to do is move a magnet through a magnetic field. So we know there's some kind of a thing like that going on. Many of us believe that the Earth's magnetosphere is simply created because the Earth is a magnet. It's got current through it, and it's traveling through a magnetic field. Those things are ubiquitous. They're one and the same, and you can't differentiate it. You run into a chicken or the egg problem. It's one of the greatest mysteries mankind has ever faced, because ultimately we can't really prove where the Earth's magnetosphere comes from. You can research it all day, but you're not going to find out, because you can't take the Earth out of the interplanetary magnetic field, last I checked. Also, you wouldn't want to, because the things that would happen if you did that are probably too scary to mention in this video. Anyway, there's Popocatépetl erupting. Let's get that off screen here. Because that was crazy. By the way, again, that was located at Volcano YT. Let's go a little farther out and let's classify this insane galaxy. Look at that thing. Now, don't freak out about that pink line in the front. That's some kind of an optical artifact. But we're saving that image. It only offers me save as. Okay, whatever. Call it whatever you like. Thank you, DuckDuckGo. We're using Brave browser, by the way, people. This browser is designed to not track you. Unlike browsers like Google Chrome, which are designed to track you, not to work well. They're gauging the success of their software on how well it tracks you. All right, let's classify this funky galaxy right here, which is awesome, by the way. It's got so many features, I don't even know where to start, but if you set yourself up in a login here, this thing will just walk you right through the whole process. You'll classify galaxies, you'll help to advance actual science like you are by watching this channel, and then you may even get published in a science journal. We covered an article, what, 2 days ago, about the Teacup Galaxy, which was discovered right here. You want to read about the Teacup Galaxy? Look at our videos from 2 days ago. So, is it an edge on disk? Well, it's certainly not an edge on disk, is it? Is there a bar? Yeah, there's a bar. Strong bar. It doesn't look like that unnested galaxy there because it's got all the features tied together. Literally almost every feature you could imagine is on that galaxy. Look at this crazy little satellite galaxy there. This one needs additional attention for real. Not because of this little pink artifact here. That's an optical artifact. That's a thing like lens flare. Is there a spiral arm pattern? Yeah, there's a spiral arm pattern. Crazy. They appear, I'll say tight. How many? We're going to say 2. Now this is viewed partially edge on, so it's a little bit deceptive. Is there a bulge? Yeah, there's a bulge. Large. Speaking of which, let's check the chat. Yeah, we use Google Chrome for this because usually we can prevent this from evaporating. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. See if I have any kind of questions here I need to answer. Keith Fuller, most competitive cyclists know how to change clothes on a bike because if you're racing and you got to change clothes, you think the Peloton's going to wait for you? We all learn how to do it, and we all do it all the time. I'll include tips and tricks on little secret techniques to prevent things like having to take a jacket off. How about that? The sun charges the magnetosphere. The earth and sun combined create it. Eden sent, that is a sound theory. That is a sound theory. A lot of people agree with that. We want to know the physics behind it, the mechanism. And I'm not going to get into that because we want to keep this video under an hour. Nice. Popocatépetl, yeah, we showed you. Did you see it? That was fantastic. Man, I was laying in bed looking at that this morning going, geez. Mountain dwelling prepper, that's a smart way to be. I would be a mountain dwelling prepper if I could afford it. I apologize for the delay here. I'm just reading the comments. By the way, thanks everybody for commenting. Here is some additional music, which sounds nice and metal. By the way, I'm a classically trained guitarist and a singer. If anybody would like to do any collaborations, send us an email at smashomash@gmail.com. I am into a lot of different stuff, so hit me up. I need to raise my income by about 7 figures. Take a break from my food for these trying to environmental sandwiches. By the way, Ice cream sandwiches, good times. Skittles, bad times. Trash the Skittles. Skittles are shite. Read the label. They're made out of trans fat, otherwise known as hydrogenated oils. That chewy part is crap. That's a ball of hydrogenated oils, dude. You ever hear of trans fats? Skittles are made out of trans fats. I used to like them too. I would throw the rainbow in the garbage if somebody handed me the rainbow nowadays. They should have only 2 Galaxy tributes, cool and boring. You are incorrect, Bacchus Madi Papa Giorgio. Yeah, the volcanoes are a little bit worrying, and they usually happen right after a solar minimum. So considering how deep this last solar minimum was, not quite as deep as the last solar minimum, but quite deep. And considering the kind of weather effects that we saw and things, which we didn't see quite as much back in 2008 and 2009, did we? So there's a lot of weird stuff going on. We are hoping to see a cycle. I'm not going to say anything about what we're hoping. Anyway, let's get back with classifying this galaxy. This is we're going to say, because of this blurry spot here, and there looks like there's a line going through it. Let me open this thing in a new tab. So this one's pretty funky because we have this blurry spot, and there looks like there's a dust lane there. So I think this is a satellite galaxy. This might be a jet. This probably is the jet coming out of the galactic core, which is oriented a little bit toward the viewer here. The other jet would be probably in this area. That could actually be a galaxy forming at the end of that jet. This is what we see all the time. Anyway, let's go back to classification. Maybe I'll make that the thumbnail today because that's a good one. Also, we see some overlap. That's probably a background galaxy there, and that's probably a foreground galaxy, but that all counts. So we're just going to say minor disturbance there. My mouse is acting very latent right now. I'm one of these weird gamers who uses a wireless mouse when I play games, which I haven't done for years, by the way. All right, so we see all kinds of features, everything you could possibly imagine. We're going to say ring, lens, arc, irregular because of that blur, dust lane, 100%, overlapping, and something else. We're going to say done and talk. And I'm going to type in hashtag features, hashtag galore. I don't know what that did. Anyway, there's a galaxy. Head to zooniverse.org and do some citizen science. It is the largest citizen science project in the world. And yes, I'm using bandwagon advertising. If you're not familiar with bandwagon advertising, I can't help you. Look it up. Going to look at the Stereo A space weather beacon, which we're going to typically do all the time when we see X-ray flares. And while that's not loading, let's talk about Scope X, Harvard's idiotic geoengineering program. Please contact your local legislator or your local any politician and tell them to stop providing federal funding to Harvard University. What are they doing over there at Harvard? They're racistly preventing Asians from gaining admission by illegitimately messing with their social standing scores or whatever it is. If you look up the mechanism that Harvard uses to keep Asians out of their school, you'd be even more pissed off than you are about it now. So anyway, Harvard, losing credibility in every possible way. And that is not loading. Let's try again. Will it play that? Nope. Suddenly, I don't think the ISWA likes me anymore. I feel so underprivileged. By the way, this track called Hemi's Here is also available at soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. Okay, here's some images. Thank you. All right. Thank you, ISWA. My music soothed the savage website. Let's increase the res here. 20 is the max, by the way. That's a temporal res, by the way, not the physical res. And there you can see the Earth-facing region of stereo A. No kind of coronal mass ejections. Again, do everything you can to stop Scope X, international viewers included, because some of these stratospheric aerosols are making it to wherever you are. That's the whole point of them. Here are the planets today. There they are 7 days from now. If you get up before sunrise, go check out Venus. It's the third brightest object in the sky. Check out our officially endorsed channels if you haven't done so already. New viewers, go to Sky Scholar and watch every single video. Go to David Lapointe and watch every single video. And if you can't handle the music, just suffer through it because you got to hear the voiceover. Adapt 30, David Devine, coming out with fantastic videos about global crop losses, cold weather events, crazy weather, etc. The Electric View, we just got in contact with them. We're looking to be on the show and looking to have some of them on ours. They sounded like they liked what they saw. So we like what we see. We're going to do a collabo. David Schlottower, meteorologist. David Mariello, Rolf Viche. Maverick Star Reloaded, measuring the Earth's magnetosphere on the ground. Christian Westbrook, Thunderbolts Project. Tony Heller, showing you graph after graph after graph, disproving global warming. And Ben Davidson at Suspicious Observers. Now, speaking of crazy weather, we hope everybody's doing okay. Around the Mississippi Valley, and I believe it's Missouri, Platte River, a bunch of floods. And check this out. Northern Alabama and northwestern Georgia have freeze warnings. Spring begins tomorrow, folks. Tomorrow's the equinox. So that's a little, yeah. How about rivers, lakes, and rainfall? If you're not aware, the flooding going on in the central U.S. right now is pretty epic. Let's let this load so you can see the horrificness of it. It always takes a minute. I'm going to hit refresh view. Now, the green are no floods. Let me zoom out here. It doesn't like that. It doesn't like that at all. These websites can be a little fickle. All right, here we go. 33 gauges showing major flooding, 64 moderate flooding, 170 minor flooding, 236 near flood stage. So lots of flooding going on in the U.S. This is one of the many disaster plans. Floods are horrific. They shut down power and they shut down your water faster than you can blink. And when a town runs out of gas, which happens right as the flood occurs, people will kill each other for a tank of gas within 24 hours. Let's look at tropical tidbits. Here's the northern hemisphere, by the way. Now, this is the GFS model, temperature anomaly at 2 meters. Let this play. Now, I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania. we are going to get pulse after pulse after pulse of 12-degree below normal temperatures. Now, there are also going to be pulses of 12-degree above normal temperatures. But notice how cold it is down here in Texas. All I can say is thank goodness it's warm in Canada, because perhaps your spring won't be as delayed as it was last year. By the way, if you're worried about global warming, please look at this graph, because this is what's causing all the flooding. Just let that graph sink in, and please head to globalcryospherewatch.org and click on the snow portion. You see that abrupt melting? That's what's causing the flooding in the central US. And yes, it's still about 200 gigatons above the 1982 through 2012 snow mass average. How do you like that? Boy, the planet is, oh my gosh, it's just burning up. It's just burning up. By the way, glaciers are formed when snow falls in extreme amounts and then doesn't melt. That's how a glacier forms, people. Just giving you a little geology. Just sprinkle in some geology in our channel here. There's the Rutgers. Nice. Let's zoom back out. Come on, Rutgers. All right. Why did that graphic totally change? Did the one graphic vanish, or was that my imagination? Oh, here we go. Looks kind of like a lot of snow in the northern hemisphere. I don't know. All right, let's play some more music and move on here so this stream does not stagnate when I get stuck in a bunch of global warming BS. What the hell did I do there?
So much shit, so much shit. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. It's not just a log. You fucking goose. You fucking...
All right, watch your language. All right, watch your language. By the way, that's AVGN, the angry video game nerd. If you don't know who he is, I can't help you either, because that is some serious stuff. All right, continuing on. I think we just reached about an hour, folks. And this stream is not yet completed. Let's turn this down a little bit. It's a bit of a loud song. All right, let's look at one other little indicator here. Here we go. There's a sea ice thickness, and look at the Arctic, people. Look at the Arctic. I implore you, look at the Arctic. Do you see the Arctic? See that black line? You see that black line? That's the ice increasing in volume. Spring begins tomorrow. That is a late spring, just like we had last year. Except this pulse is coming in later. See that? That's the ice not wanting to melt last year. So, here's the thickness. And I liked what David Devine was saying. By the way, that's ADAPT 2030. I liked what he was saying about how last year they had to increase this scale right here. They had to put this white portion where it's 5 meters. This only went to 4.5 or whatever before. I just read an article this morning about how Greenland is so melted. Except up here, the ice is over 5 meters thick, which is over 15, excuse me, that's over 15 feet of ice. Look at the Northwest Passage. This barely thawed last year. All right, anyway. Let's see what we see about the historic floods. All right, here we go. Here's a new one on WGNO ABC. Nebraska flooding turned towns into islands. Rivers that are supposed to be 80 feet wide became 8 miles wide. 3 deaths, including somebody trying to rescue other people. In other words, the people that he rescued basically caused his death by not rescuing themselves. During a disaster, people, please be an asset and not a liability. If there's a river about to be in your living room, get the hell out of your living room. All right. Let me just check comments here. By the way, my cycling specialty is the time trial. I ride these kind of bikes, and I wear the weird-looking alien pointy helmets and the shoe covers and the skin suits and all that stuff. I'm about to get a new road bike. I'm going to keep my time trial bike for now. But, oh my goodness. If you're thinking about shopping for bikes, head to veloshop.net. They got what you need. Jeez. The wheel set is but everything else is whoa. It's got 2 toolboxes built into the frame there. Check it out. All right, let me get back to the chat here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry people who didn't tune in for making the video so long, but you got to do what you got to do. Let me load up some more views of the sun here, as that's what most of our viewers are tuning in for, I think. Now, people who like to prep, since our video is so long, we're going to update this. For people who like to prep, do you have a bicycle or 2 or 6? Comfort cruisers that have pannier racks? You may want to get 1 or 2 or 6. Let us know. We'll set up a deal. Email us at smashomash@gmail.com. We will hook you up. All right, let's look at some views we don't usually look at. How about 131 angstroms? That's another one of the high res views, like 94. It takes 5 times as many photos. And we're looking at only today. That's the last roughly 10 hours of Sunspot 2735. This thing actually evolved since you tuned in, if you were here the whole time. There's the date stamps. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. That looks good. All right. Now, what else do we have here? By the way, donors, we're going to be changing things up. We're going to include a paywall feature on Patreon. Not exactly sure what it's going to include yet. However, we're going to set up a subscription service, essentially. There's going to be videos that are only available behind paywalls. But for YouTube people, these regular space weather videos are going to still come out in some format. They might be abridged. They might include only data. But there's a lot of stuff we're looking into, including hiring employees and things. So it's getting pretty serious over here at the smAsho channel. And all of our viewers should realize that they are a part of our channel. So just viewing is part of the channel. Leaving a comment is a more substantial part of the channel. And we're also going to be looking at making t-shirts. I've actually designed t-shirts several times for different entities before, but we're going to do a smAsho Mash t-shirt, and I think I know exactly what the design's going to be. I'll share that with you later. In fact, I might design it before I stand up from this computer today. But looking at making a t-shirt with something sun related on it, maybe something that will spark conversations between you and people that you see out on your daily lives, so you can tell them something perhaps they didn't know about space weather, the magnetosphere, the sun, astrophysics, whatever. By the way, Ernest, particulate in the air absolutely does cause additional ionization pathways, and additional ionization pathways cause lightning. That's how clouds form. That's how stars and galaxies form. They all form on ionization pathways. So, yeah, lightning is figured in there. Those charges want to equalize each other. The charges want to equalize themselves, and they're going to exploit any mechanism that they can do to reach static equilibrium. The Earth has current flowing through it constantly, so it's not going to reach static equilibrium, and you damn well better hope it doesn't reach static equilibrium, because the ramifications of what would happen if current stopped flowing through the planet, they're not good. Let's just say that. Astronomy is pretty scary, but wouldn't you rather know about it than not? And anything else? Any questions? Any death threats, hate speech, questions, comments? Because we got to close this thing out. Let's do one more view of the sun here. Let's look at the intensity gram in orange. That's what happens if you forget to put the dates in. If you want the same dates and times, just tab through it, because keyboard shortcuts are your friend. See, we even provide tech support on this channel. How's that for a value-added service? You know what? That's another thing. Forgot to show you the US Doppler radar map. We got scattered snow showers all across the whole country. Additional flooding coming in the central US around Nebraska and Kansas, adding insult to injury. And it's obviously cold as hell because there's snow and wintry mix all around. And also Florida getting kaplastered. Hope you're doing okay down there, Mom. Don't forget to watch the whole video, or you might not hear yourself being referenced. By the way, I bought her Ben Davidson's space weather to Earth weather guide. What's it called? Weatherman's Guide to Space Weather, or whatever it is over there, Suspicious Observers, in hopes that she would have some concrete means of being able to figure out space weather to Earth weather connections. So yeah, there's that other value-added service. Here's the intensity gram. That's the latest state of Sunspot 2735. We'll be keeping an eye on it. Notice we covered it yesterday before it was named officially, because that's what we do. That was the wrong button. All right, it's about time to close this out. Oh, wait. I don't think there's any chance of Yellowstone blowing, because if it was blowing, we would see concentrations of 4 magnitude earthquakes around the caldera, 4, 5, 6 magnitude earthquakes around the caldera for magma chamber that big to go off, you're going to see seismic activity underneath it. And we don't see that. If we were seeing a bunch of seismic activity around Yellowstone, we'd be predicting that it's going to go off. But that's not happening. I mean, think about how small Kilauea is and how much activity went on underneath Kilauea before it erupted as it did. It didn't erupt that big, but it was accompanied by a bunch of seismic activity preceding it. This is what we saw underneath Mount St. Helens before that exploded also. So supervolcanoes are going to be more conspicuous, seismically speaking, before they go off than regular volcanoes. And regular volcanoes are often very conspicuous. Supervolcanoes are going to be super conspicuous, right? So anyway, there's your intensity gram. Enjoy your day. Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to share on your social media, as we are shadow banned 24/7 everywhere. So it'll never be now again. And may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.